Recording in progress.
Regular meeting of the Rio Dell City Council. Roll call, please. Mayor Garner? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Carter? Here. Councilmember Orr? Excused. Councilmember Wilson? Here. Councilmember Woodall? Here. Okay, we have nothing to report out of this closed session. So now we will stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public presentations. This is the time for persons who wish to address the council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the council has jurisdiction. As such, a dialogue with the council or staff is not allowed under the Ralph M. Brown Act. Items requiring council actions not listed on this agenda may be placed on the next regular agenda consideration if the council directs, unless a finding is made by at least 2/3 of the council that the item came up after the agenda was posted and is of an urgency nature requiring immediate action. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Anyone, when you approach the podium, would you feel free, just identify yourself, please? That would be lovely.
This is new business, is that it?
This is anything that's not on the agenda.
Okay. My name is Estela de Leon. I'm in 2nd Avenue, 541. And we would like to ask the city of Rio Dell to repair our 3 or 4 blocks of the street on 2nd Avenue. I'm going to read a letter here and then have a couple of pages of signatures from people in Rio Dell. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. We have been waiting for many years to see when you will pave 2nd Avenue between Davis and Columbus. The potholes on this street are awful. They're hard on our automobiles, and they make this area of Rio Dell look like a shanty town. Some parts of this street are higher than the sidewalk, so the water flows back into people's yards. All this will lower property values. One of our neighbors is in a wheelchair, and she enjoys going in her wheelchair to the post office, to the dollar store, and so forth. It's pretty shameful that she has to maneuver onto the street because the sidewalk is broken in many places. She might fall over. It's dangerous for her and other pedestrians. If the city cannot get the grant, maybe the state can provide funds for this. I know just coming over here, driving my car, there was such a big hole, and there was another car coming toward me, and I really, really needed to move over because of the huge hole, but I couldn't because it was coming. So please consider this. We're very anxious to get our street fixed. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to give that letter? Did you? With the signature? Copy of the letter? Thank you. Thank you very much. Sure.
My name is Joyce McHenry, and I recently bought a home on 2nd Avenue here in Del Rio, Rio Dell. I'll get it right. All right. Besides what Estella had to say, the sidewalks are in deplorable condition. You can't push a buggy down the street. Kids can't skate. They can't play hopscotch. They can't play jump rope. They're having a time that they shouldn't. They should be on safe sidewalks, right? You don't see the children enjoying any part of the sidewalk. In addition, some with nothing better to do find it a thrill to drive their car recklessly over the dangerous road. It's rubble. It's down to bare base material for the roads. They act as if it's some kind of carnival ride, and none of us in the neighborhood appreciate this. As a result, further damage is done to the street. In the rainy season, the water is so deep it's up to your calf. And it's under our cars, and trying to get in and out of the cars is just impossible to keep dry. So a lot of us just stay indoors. On dry days, the sooty debris is thrown up into the air and covers our homes, our vehicles, and gets into our lungs. It's bad. I don't recommend to anyone to take this road either by car or foot. It's much too dangerous. We, the concerned citizens from 2nd Avenue, would like to invite you to view the Channel 3 news story about 2nd Avenue's plight, and this problem did not just now come. It's mishandled for many years now. It's been bandaged over, and it's a bad, bad street. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I forgot to mention that, how she was saying that this, reporter, Styler, Channel 3, will be airing, she came out and looked and took pictures. So at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, Channel 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Nick Angela, 156 Brethren Heights Road, Rio Dell, Chamber of Commerce, president. No, I can attest to 2nd Avenue. I actually sold our old house, and it's in bad shape. Always has been. Needs to be lowered. Infrastructure is too high. Infrastructure needs to be lowered, and then the street needs to be repaved. It's in bad shape. First of all, well, now second of all, sorry about the random comment, but wanted to reach out, thank the city for their response, and now in the recovery effort. And what you guys have been doing is just phenomenal. I can point fingers, but this is I've been a part of disaster response for a good period of my life in other places, and the response and the cohesion that happened here, largely in part to the city and the fire department, has just been beyond the pale. It's superb. So thanks for everybody. Chamber of Commerce was able to give out some small grants to local businesses. We through a donation from Good Samaritan and Carlotta area came in and donated some money for us for the businesses, so we were able to redistribute that out. The interesting part is the people who got most damaged actually refused to take any money. So both Route 101 and CC Market said that the money would go further with somebody else. They were small amounts, so the relative damage was pretty large for these guys. So it was a drop in the bucket to them, but just that camaraderie, and, help. CC Market actually asked me to donate the money to, the Rio Dell Fire Department for the services that they provided during this disaster and now recovery. So, that said, I don't know if you guys had a chance, I didn't see it on the agenda, so, to mull over the, idea of a community resilience center, with the fire department. And if you could, get a letter of support for that, that would be great. Partnership would be wonderful. I would really appreciate it. We're moving forward with that grant application, and hopefully we end up with a nice little center over there at the fire department area. So, thank you, and I'll talk to you later.
Can I ask Nick just one question?
Before the 21st.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be wonderful. It's a good chunk of money, and you can build with it. And I think after our experiences here, we merit being a central location for disasters into the future, including fire. It's a wonderful, one of the things that we found out through the COAD was northern Humboldt, when Oric was impacted, and then getting resources out to Willow Creek as well, was getting impacted because there wasn't a centralized distribution area. They were having to go up into Willow Creek because of the fire. They had staged the resource center up there, the resource storage area, and reached out to get a storage area, temporary, sort of like we did with the containers in Arcata or McKinleyville. Ended up being in McKinleyville, but the same concept goes there. If there are fires up in the hills here, or a disaster happens up in the hills here, we need to have the resources down here to get up there, and then and they have them up in the hills now, but if we have a disaster down here, we don't want to have to go up there to get them. Ferndale gets cut off by floods, the bridge, Blue Slide slides. I think there's not an appropriate spot, or the land availability, or the everyone from Fortuna seems to be supporting it over here. So if we can establish this at the Rio Dell Fire Department, I think it'll be an optimal spot for us to go. I prefer the Todd property, but you can't buy land with it either. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Before he leaves, what does it take to establish it? To what to do what you're trying to accomplish? What do we have to do as a city or a council? What do we have to do? Just a letter, or what would we?
I think it would be just a letter and a partnership in the end. So the partnership would require some effort on part of the city to provide personnel down there. Mostly it would be the Community Resource Center and the fire department. And of course, the Chamber of Commerce would probably relocate there as well. But the people, it gives the Emergency Operations Center a place to live during a disaster. And in the meantime, the resource centers can do what they do every day and provide resources to people through a modern building. So basically, it's a hardened building, resistant to disaster, self-autonomous with its own power, so generator and solar, et cetera, and designed to deal with a disaster. So I'm sorry, I'm taking, okay. The idea being that during this disaster, we had to relocate from the fire department to the school to the resource center, and we split resources, right? So we all collaborated. It was a wonderful collaboration. But if we had all been centralized, it would have been easier for the survivors to reach out and get those resources. We didn't have refrigeration capacity. We didn't have storage capacity. Thanks to the city, we got containers, et cetera. The building would encompass everything that we needed during this disaster, but didn't have, as well as the resources that we did have. A portion of this, I envision going to the fire department as well to harden their facilities. So, where the library is, it would go there. But that's the idea. It's pretty simple, pretty clear. in hindsight or in context of the recent disaster that we just had.
So it requires a building,
Yep.
and you said it's a grant?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No matching in kind, nothing like that, just, it was released just before the earthquake and, is due in late February. So it's coming up on the due date and I'm rounding up and drafting letters of support. So, basically, that's it. And the fire department will be, the lead on it. They have a 501c3 that they can run through.
So, city manager, do we need a consensus from the council or to do that?
So as I chatted with the council earlier, we probably are going to have a special meeting in between this meeting and the one upcoming, so that would be the perfect time to bring it.
Okay. So there is time, there is still time.
Oh, yeah.
Just a friendly reminder, I know how busy everyone's been. I'm exhausted. I don't know about you all, but thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mayor.
it to be back.
Now we'll watch the consult, but yeah,
Are you done with public presentation?
I thought it was, but did I miss someone? I thought,
Well, my question was on the, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to do it, with public presentations with the item that was brought up on Second Avenue. Is that something that we can't discuss it tonight because of the Brown Act?
Right.
But can we, I'd like to ask if we have a consensus that we can put that on a future agenda to find out what what that entails to happen. Is that something we can ask for?
absolutely.
You're the mayor, I'm
No,
not.
I'm saying yes,
Okay.
and we have, yeah, I already checked it out. Yeah, we.
So we can ask to have that on a future agenda then?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, no hand raised, no emails? Okay, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Is there anyone, any council member have any items to remove?
Let's remove item number 4.
Discussion? Anyone in the public that would like to remove anything? Okay, and, is there a, motion to approve items 1, 2, and 3 on the consent calendar? I so move. Have a motion, a second? Second. Vote. Motion carried. 4-0. Councilmember Wilson, item number 4.
Yes, and I want to word this in such a way that it not be taken as a criticism to the staff, and by any means, it's meant more to be as a compliment to the staff in their effort to accomplish what they did. And it's on the item it's for the retroactive reimbursement, I believe, if I understood it right, of the $124,000 that it took for the showers and the portable toilets to be paid for that we had during the disaster. And I just want to draw attention to, there are people within the community or without the community that want to criticize the efforts that have gone on in spite of a disaster. And they're all for that when that happens. And then now the bill comes due in the form of $124,000, and it's, what are we doing? And first of all, I want to thank staff for being able to respond and get showers here and get the toilets because there was no resources. And then here's the bill. And so I just want it noted that the city, that comes out of the city's coffers. I don't know if we'll be able to get reimbursed for it. But that's an expense that falls largely to the city, to my understanding. And I just want that noted. That's an effort that Rio Dell supplied to both people in the community and people that were without the community that came and took advantage of these facilities. Any comments?
And I would just add to that, there's a very good chance we're going to be reimbursed for the costs of all these facilities that were provided on basically hours notice. And the question is more of whether it's going to be reimbursed 100% or 75%. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out, Councilmember Wilson.
Yeah,
Is there a motion? Does anyone have comments? Questions?
Then I make a motion that we accept item number 4.
We have a motion, is there a second? Second. Motion carries 4-0. Reports and staff communications, city manager, staff update, page 33 in our packet, city manager.
All right, thank you, Mayor Dorrance, members of the council. So just to talk a little bit about the earthquake and the process that we're in right now, which is in the initial stages of the recovery effort. We are working on establishing disaster case managers. So obviously in this particular disaster, there's a wide variety of people impacted by the disaster, including a wide range of housing situations, everything from, chimney collapses to, foundations and everything in between. That's kind of unique. Most of the experience in California recently has to do with wildfires, where the homes are 100% destroyed, in which the cleanup tasks can take well over a year just to accomplish cleanup of those sites. We are working on identifying a funding source to pay for disaster case managers and identifying a nonprofit to deliver disaster case management services. So that's one aspect of what we're doing. And actually, the most important thing to note here, and I'm going to be repeating this over and over, and I encourage the council and staff and members of the public to repeat it over and over again. One of the things that makes this disaster a little bit unique is that the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, is not going to be involved in this particular response and recovery effort. What that means is that there's not going to be individual assistance, so money from the federal government for private property and money from the federal government for personal property. So that's a huge difference between maybe some of the public's expectations on this particular issue. What the federal government has done is made available SBA, Small Business Administration lending, which is currently going on down at the Community Resource Center, and several $1 million in this new financing has been approved and is moving through. We certainly want to encourage people to take advantage of that while that's available. There's a window of time, in particular, that they're going to be available here, I believe, until Friday. So I want to encourage everybody to continue to take a look at that, because that's a very relatively quick process as long as you have your paperwork to go through. The other solutions to the crisis, again, with no federal intervention, are going to be mostly pre-existing grant programs through the state of California and lending programs. And so owner-occupied rehabilitation and other programs similar to that. I really want to thank the county in particular, because they're willing and to take on the administrative burden of handling these loans and processes, which are quite extraordinary in the amount of paperwork that has to be accomplished in order to make these funds available. And so the county's been right with Rio Dell since day one, including the board's appropriation of $1 million to assist in this recovery effort with their federal ARPA dollars. So really, I really can't say enough about the county's efforts towards these issues. So that being said, another component of this, so I talked a little bit about the disaster case management, so that because each case is unique. We need people who are going to be able to handle maybe a dozen cases and help people through the paperwork process of what's available to them. The other aspect is going to be this long-term recovery phase. And normally in the wildfires in California, many of them federally declared disasters, those processes don't even start for 6 months after the disaster. So I want to stress that that things are going quickly, but at a government pace of quickly. But I encourage people to have patience with this process, because when we deliver information to the public, we want to make sure it's accurate and actionable by the public. So we are dependent on nonprofits in this case of coming in and helping with this situation and putting boots on the ground to assist those who maybe don't qualify for SBA assistance and the most vulnerable in the community. So we have been working with the Hope Crisis Network and the Habitat for Humanity to try to come up with a workable framework to move forward. Of course, these are two separate independent nonprofits that answer to their own boards, that have their own mission statements, and it requires their cooperation. They're not, forced to be here, and neither of these organizations are based in Humboldt County. The other issue is that we're also going to need a finance section that handles and distributes the money for their work and for any of the philanthropic donations and county donations that come in for the housing issues, so that there's kind of a clean break in terms of, the city won't be the city doling out any funds. It'll be a separate independent financing committee of individuals and organizations that have put money forward to fund certain specific projects. The city's responsibility in this case is to enforce the building code and make sure that their licensed contractors, so on and so forth, quality work being done. So the process is ongoing. I wish I had more to say, but again, we're not in a signed MOU with these groups to pull them all together into a task force. But we are working on it, and I think we're going to have some progress on that over the next few weeks of getting this process started. There is still the hotel voucher program through the county. So if you are displaced from the earthquake, again, we want to encourage people to call 707-441-5000 in order to receive that aid if you are in need. And that's the real underscore there, that you need the assistance. Otherwise, if you don't need it, you might not be able to receive those services. So that's just in a brief version of a lot of work going on, and trying to pull together a lot of different elements that normally we shouldn't have to do, because the federal government should be here. But according to the formulas that they work off of and how they declare federal disasters, there's actually this methodology that's used, and there's not really an arbitrary decision by the president or the cabinet as to which disasters they pick to declare and which ones they don't. So unfortunately, Rio Dell just fits into that category of the damage not being extensive enough and needing an arbitrary dollar value threshold, which certainly there are significant equity issues there. And in looking at some of that, Rio Dell is not alone. There's been a lot of kind of these smaller level disasters in various communities all throughout the United States where FEMA has not stepped in, but has stepped in and much wealthier communities in different circumstances. So with that, we do have the rest of the staff report, including the police department report for you available, including some stop data on gender, race, and whatnot. So with that, I'll return to the mayor to see if there's any questions and or any comments to staff.
Thank you, city manager. Thanks for the update. Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions, but wow, lots of calls for service this time, huh?
Definitely increased.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
No, I can tell you that one of the calls for service has multiple calls for service. It's the same individual.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, it looks like you guys have been busy. Thank you. And that's it.
Councilmember Woodall?
The town hall meeting tomorrow night, is that just going to be basically an update on the things that we've talked about?
So there is no town hall for tomorrow night. So I don't know, we'll be up to the senator to schedule that.
Okay, I thought somebody said.
It was postponed.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that, thank
Yeah,
you.
it did happen.
And, I was wondering, Randy, could you give us a little update about the water situation today?
What happened today?
Yeah.
Yes, at current time, we're working on Birch Street, getting that line replaced. Back in 2006, we had a major loop, lead pipe installed, and the main line that came from that tank that feeds that loop, which is 90% of it, drop the area of the town. When the valve was shut off, unfortunately, two other valves that were also tied into the system that were closed during the earthquake were not reopened. Sorry, but we tried getting everything. Found out that those were closed, so once we found out what was going on, we were able to access those valves, being open again, and water flowing again. So it's just basically going back and backtracking on what we did in the earthquakes during that chaos and getting everything open again.
Okay, oh, I understand that, I just want.
It is back up and running again, and I believe they have the new piece of pipe valve piece in at Sequoia and Birch installed, so that should turn off.
I appreciate all the work you guys did today, thank you.
Councilmember Wilson?
I don't think I have any questions on the city manager's report. I'm looking through it.
And yeah, thanks for that update. Thanks for bringing it up. Councilmember Woodall, there are people who were up in arms thinking they weren't notified, and really, once they were explained that it wasn't planned, kind of settled down, so.
They weren't the only ones that were shocked.
Exactly, yeah. Well, thank you for everything you did. Anyone in the public have any questions on this topic? Any comments? No? Any hands raised? Any emails? Okay, then we will close that and move on to special presentations. Tobacco-free North Coast, page 40 in our packets.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. So we have Jay McCovery, the project director with Tobacco Free North Coast, to give a presentation to your council.
Hello, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Wow, quite a lot has happened since I was last here in November supporting the Great American Smokeout. So we do appreciate your time tonight. This is really just an educational presentation about tobacco retail licensing. My project that I work for, and those of Amber and Jay, who you'll meet shortly, are funded by the California Department of Public Health, and we're really here to assist rural counties and cities come up to par with what urban areas have been doing to prevent and reduce tobacco addiction. So one of the things that we're talking about tonight is tobacco retail licensing. Tobacco retail licensing is recommended by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on a national level and the California Department of Public Health as a public health best practice to help prevent tobacco addiction. It reduces illegal sales to kids and a number of other things you can do with that tool. A citywide policy is important because it creates a sustainable program. The voters have spoken about this issue as well. In November, as you may recall, the state voters overwhelmingly supported a ban on the sale of flavored tobacco to prevent kids from getting addicted, especially the vaping products that have become so popular in the last 10 years among youth. So this tobacco retail licensing option, several policy options were presented about these issues and start the discussion about a consistent countywide policy that creates a level playing field for all of the tobacco retailers throughout the county. So that's what we're doing tonight, starting that discussion. And we hope to, the outcome of this evening will continue good relations with the council and staff to keep this process moving forward. And as the county develops their policy, we'll also be able to be in line and be consistent throughout the county. So I'm going to just leave it at that and introduce you, Amber Weir and Jay Macedo. Amber works for a project called NorCal for Health. They are supporting tobacco retail licensing. She was instrumental in actually getting the county of Del Norte County to adopt the tobacco retail policy just very recently. We're also active in Lake County and Mendocino County, doing the same kind of work. And then following Amber will be Jay Macedo. Jay is a longtime tobacco control advocate, formerly worked for Sonoma County. He works for a project called Communities Addressing Nicotine, also a North Coast region-wide project. And he is also a consultant for several tribal tobacco prevention projects. So you kind of got the A team here tonight. And we are, like I said, here to help jurisdictions prevent and reduce tobacco addiction. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Amber. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'll be real quick. I'm Amber Weir, Project Director for NorCal for Health. And as Jay said, we did work a lot with Del Norte County and getting their tobacco retail license passed. And I'm not sure, but in your packets, I think there was a link to the video Youth Voices. That was our project produced that, and if you haven't listened to it or watched it yet, please watch it. Those are our youth from all 4 counties represented to talk about the challenges of nicotine addiction amongst them and their peers. So we've worked a lot with the youth. They came and presented as well to say that this really is an issue. Some of the things that other tobacco retail policies have included to limit and reduce exposure to youth are things like taking a tobacco retail, a limit of density, how many tobacco retailers there are in a community. You can add that to a policy. You can create a policy for, if you have pharmacies, to come in to only have pharmacies that don't sell tobacco. And then proximity to schools, making limits to kid-friendly areas on where tobacco is sold in a tobacco retail license. And then I think you also have a flyer on here that talks about, what tobacco companies already know. So there's a lot of research on marketing on how to get their next customer. And so they know that kids who see it, try it. So this is about limiting that exposure to kids, where those products are being sold, if they're near kid-friendly items, if they're all over the windows. There are plugins that you can put in a TRL that addresses and just asking for 10% window coverage. It helps with light. You guys have a beautiful community. You want to keep it that way as you grow. It also helps with crime-free programs that police can see in as they're making their rounds. People can see out. It's a safety issue. So a lot of communities do adopt some sort of how many ads can be displayed on windows of these retailers. And then I think that was it. Where it is in the stores, and proximity to schools. So those are just some of the plugins that I wanted to highlight that you could take a look at. We have sample language. We all have access to Public Health Law Center that can help write those things, or just come into parity when the county decides to do that. And then I'll hand it off to Jay to talk about enforcement and merchant education.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Jay. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you. James Zito with the Health and Social Policy Institute. Please address it if you can. I have been involved in tobacco for the last 20 years, working with both tribes and cities and counties, and passing policies, and then helping to implement and also enforce those policies, helping to enforce them. So many California jurisdictions have implemented a robust local TRL policy. Research on these types of TRL policies has shown an average annual reduction in youth tobacco sales by 26%, with many communities exceeding 50 to 90% reductions. Local TRL fees that are charged from the retailer are high enough to support and sustain local administration and enforcement. The average TRL fee in California was $344 per year, with $475 being the most common fee. The model TRL policy provides options for each community to determine the best enforcement protocols. As state-funded technical assistance or TA providers, our 3 agencies are able to assist with drafting TRL policies, TRL fees, TRL administration. We offer free compliance support to localities by educating retailers and the community about the TRL, as well as now the state-wide flavor ban that is out. I went to the local retailers, tobacco retailers here tonight, and all of them are in compliance in terms of that statewide flavor ban. There's a few kind of chew and little cigars that are still mint flavored, but I think with education that could, we could eliminate those as well. Our agencies can develop and purchase store TRL signs, educational materials, provide merchant trainings, perform store visits and surveys, and assist with implementation tools such as license protocols, applications, compliance checks from other counties and cities. That would make sense for here in Rio Dell. We can work with local enforcement to conduct young adult tobacco purchase surveys, or assist with recruiting young adults for decoy operations, to evaluate the TRL policy objective, which is reducing illegal tobacco sales to those under 21. Jay mentioned this in the beginning. Standardized local TRL policies across Humboldt County can help to ensure regular education, compliance, and enforcement of federal, state, and local laws designed to protect youth from tobacco and create a level playing field for retailers throughout Humboldt County. We respectfully invite council to direct staff to work with our projects and develop this policy for further consideration by the council. More details on the TA available and our contact information is in all of your packets, and we look forward to meeting with staff and council for TA consultation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have any questions, Councilman Wilson?
Yeah, so it says on here we have 6 people that are 6 retailers that can retail tobacco.
Yes.
Who are they have to go to the state to do that now?
Yes, yeah. They apply to the state agency to get a license, and it's like an annual fee that they pay to have that license.
So this would be one layer on top of that, that's already a city.
Yeah, yes, because the state is not able to check all the tobacco retailers, they're not very able to check it so low. Their local license gives local control in order to be able to enforce it at the local level.
So essentially we would have to, Kevin, I guess you have to write an ordinance to make this thing work, or that?
If that's the direction of the council, I can certainly help with that.
Okay.
So there's a
I'm just understanding what the statute is. What we have to do to make this happen.
If I may, I've been thinking about this a lot and working with the county. Rural areas, obviously, we have our own unique challenges and one of the things Jay mentioned, the state hardly ever gets up there to do any enforcement operations. Their nearest underage sales compliance offices in Santa Rosa. So, and there's no new money provided through the statewide flavor ban for anyone to do any more enforcement. So that's why the TRL taking local control is important. Now, our small communities, it's going to be a challenge, and we're going to have to work together to make this work. That's why we're approaching the county first. If, in their environmental health program, they visit all these stores anyway. So in terms of annual compliance checks, if we could, do this on a county-wide basis, we could come up with a kind of solution and a revenue sharing MOU or something that would support environmental health, doing a lot of the regular compliance monitoring, and then local law enforcement could work with public health or others to do occasional compliance checks or decoy operations.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're looking to see the county do this, not so much the cities individually.
Well, in every jurisdiction, we want to get everybody on the same playing field, eventually, so that we're all working together, and the merchants then don't have different regulations to follow in different jurisdictions. But it'll take some time. It's not something that we expect to happen overnight. In fact, we've been working with the county for over a year on this, so.
All right, I got a lot of questions, but honestly, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Little? No. Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions, but thank you for being here and for all the materials. We appreciate it.
Good bedtime reading.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to ask a question? No. And thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. And good luck, and let us know what we can do on the road with the county. All right. Thank you. Be safe in your travels. Now we'll move on to special call items. Authorize the city manager to execute the memorandum of understanding with the county of Humboldt to administer the city CDBG projects and programs. Page 50 in our packets. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. I'll go ahead and turn this over to Community Development Director Caldwell to brief the council.
Thank you very much. So Mayor indicated, discussed on page 50 of your packet. The city manager touched on it earlier this evening. Administering the CDBG program is an onerous task, especially for small jurisdictions. It really requires a dedicated full-time CDBG person with extreme knowledge to administer the program. As a result of the earthquake, we are hoping to shift gears. As the council may remember, last fall, we actually kind of shifted gears at that point, moving our program income, which we were about to lose, to the sewer line replacement project on Angel Street. As a result of the earthquake, we've decided that it would be best use of the money to redirect it back to the owner-occupied program and to establish a potential rehabilitation program at the same time. But we don't have the capacity to administer that program. So we reached out to our partners at the county, and they graciously offered to administer the program on our behalf. They actually work with the city of Fortuna and the city of Blue Lake, administering their programs. So with that, what we're asking the council to do is actually authorize the city manager to execute the memorandum of understanding, the MOU, with the county so that we can get this program back on board.
Thank you. I'm really excited of that shift, and that you included the renter aspect of it, because Rio Dell is really a renter kind of a community, so.
And we're likely gonna have to modify our program guidelines, to include the rental rehabilitation program. But hopefully we're gonna find some of the guidelines that have already been established and approved by HCD. And of course, still bring them and then incorporate them into our guidelines.
Thank you. So I will bring it to questions from the council. Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions.
Councilmember Woodall? Okay, are there any, I have no questions. Are there any questions from the public? Okay, then is there a motion to approve, to authorize the city manager to execute the memorandum of understanding with the county to administer the city CDBG program and projects and programs?
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Motion carries 4-0. We'll move on to approve resolution number 1572-2023, authorizing staff to make application to the Department of Housing and Community Development to redirect use of CDBG program income back to the city owner occupied rehabilitation program and establishing a residential rental rehabilitation program. Page 72 in our packets.
Mayor Garnes, members of the council, this dovetails right into our previous discussion regarding the MOU with the county. And it's as simple as that. This resolution will actually authorize staff to make application to CDBG, HCD, to establish both the owner occupied rehabilitation program and to establish the rental rehabilitation program. With that, if there are no questions, I would recommend the council adopt resolution 1572-2023.
Thank you. Questions? Councilman Woodall, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Wilson. Public. Right there.
Hello, Sharon Wolf, 3 Painter Street. Really, I just want to make a comment about the program, and it's great that the county is willing to administer that for us. So that's terrific. They have experience, and that'll be a big help. The program limitations of the CDBG program are 80% of the median income for the area. And that's the target, of course, for it. I know because I qualified for it many years ago when I bought in Rio Dell. And it's great what it's there for. A whole lot of the homeowners, though, aren't going to qualify under that standard. So I've reiterated it before, so I'm not telling you anything you haven't heard before, but it's this missing gap. We have certain pots of money that are coming, and thank goodness that they are coming, and they are targeted specifically to low to very low income, which is great because they also need the help. But there's also the people that aren't going to qualify for that, don't have enough to pay for it on their own, and there's pretty much nothing out there. We do have the SBA, which we're appreciative of, but they're coming in, they're quoting people over 4% interest for their quotes rather than the 2.3 that's in the flyer. I have heard from people, negotiate that with them because they have room to negotiate, and I'm not happy that they're making people ask to negotiate, if that's true. They're also coming in, they're pushing a little hard for people to make decisions on it. And I understand why, because they're telling people, of course, there's a huge demand for the program. All the storms, all the earthquakes, everything is going on, and the money is depleting really fast. So I understand the need for urgency. But we're also in a situation where most of us have no clue what is going on. Perhaps there's going to be information at the town hall that would be of interest to people. Perhaps there could be some kind of a program with the nonprofits that target that missing group that doesn't, qualify for the existing money and makes too much for that. So those are things we need to know before deciding we're going to take on debt or do these other things. So it's really very difficult to know what to do at this point other than hurry up and wait. And you all know that as well as everybody. We're on government time. It's hurry up and wait and hurry up and wait. And again, I just want to say with the CDBG program, it's terrific. Redirect that program income, get as many of the homes back up so we're not losing our housing stock. That's fantastic. But don't forget, the majority of the homeowners are not going to qualify for these sources of funding. And so we're pretty much stuck, and we'll probably take it on debt like everyone else will. but hopefully as little as humanly possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, are there any hands raised? Emails? Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution 1572-2023? Have a motion, is there a second? A motion and a second? Motion carries 4-0. And I do want to say, that because, the city manager did say that the SBA group is going away on February 10th, which is this Friday. They're only going away from the, community center. It is eligible, we are eligible to reach out to them until May 8th, I believe is the actual date. So you'd have to do it online or call, but, that option will stay.
March 6th.
It is.
March 6th?
Yeah.
Yeah, March 6th. So. No, thank you. I know where I got made. Okay, now we are moving on to council reports and communications. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Well, I like when Nick comes to meetings because you just reported out on the chamber meeting. So I'm just gonna say what he said. But yeah, no, I do think, in this disaster resiliency center letter of support, obviously we're all on board with that. But I'm just gonna reiterate, that it is nice to take this disaster as an opportunity to get right on top of learning what would have helped while it's fresh in our minds. So thank you, Nick, for taking up the brunt of the work on getting that grant. I appreciate it. Let's see, I had a Cal City's policy meeting for the Transportation, Communication, and Public Works Subcommittee. It was our yearly priority setting session, and over 5 hours, I will report out one amazing thing. We've obviously decided that one of our priorities this year is disaster preparedness, but especially as it pertains to infrastructure and public works, that is an issue this committee will be attacking hard in the next year. So I was happy to hear it and keep you updated. And that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilson.
I have an issue meeting, Thursday. The way that we worked out is shove everything into this week, so you can just take away. But anyway, that's, they're still pursuing this organic thing. I mentioned to someone earlier, I saw a thing on, it's on cable, it's called New York City Revealed. And they went into this thing about, New York City actually has the biggest recycling center in the United States. How they do this, and they do this thing with this organic waste that we're gonna run into this 1383. And they actually have little brown bins that everybody takes and dumps their orange peels and all this organic stuff into. So that's still a big mystery to be understood, how that's gonna be implemented within us as a county, as a city. I will continue to mention that probably the way it's if it's gonna work at all, it'll be through the universal collection thing that we talked about as a requirement of Rio Dell. And currently about half of Rio Dell has collection by quality. So that'll change the face of, well, I'm sure we'll have a full room when that takes place. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Woodall.
I had Humboldt Transit Authority meeting, and at the meeting, we went over the financial statements for all the systems. They seem to be doing well. It's picking up a lot after COVID. And some of them aren't quite making fare box yet, but they're giving us extra time to make fare box before that we have to decide what to do with those routes. We also passed a resolution to purchase up to 11 new Flyer hydrogen fuel cell buses, and engineering needed to extend the range of those buses. So that's a good thing. We'll have 9 new hydrogen buses. Tomorrow at the senior center, not tomorrow, on the 9th, the senior community luncheon, is having a catered luncheon for seniors 55 years and older. And it's really a nice way for people in the community to get together. They also have other meetings for moms with kids to come. And Sarah's doing a really good job, and it's good to see that in the community. And then it is tomorrow that we're having the cleanup, where we can go to the, well, let me read it. Caltrans, the city of Rio Dell Ecology announced dump day vouchers for residents will be handed out Wednesday, February 8th at Fireman's Park lot in Rio Dell. The dump event, part of the Governor Newsom's $1.2 billion Clean California initiative, which makes the event and other litter prevention and educational events occurring throughout the state possible. Food tomorrow will be Rio Dell residents only. What? You'll get a free dump day voucher. And it's 8 a.m. until noon or until the vouchers run out at the Fireman's parking lot. And this dump day voucher is limited to one passenger truck or bed or cargo full of residential debris for free when disposed between Wednesday, February 8th, 2023 and February 22nd, 2023 at the Recology Center. So that would be something you might want to take advantage of if you still have things left over from the earthquake. It's a Clean California programs. So, and I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I had a meeting with Linda Navis, and she is the coordinator of the Community Emergency Response Team trainer. She's a trainer, and she's looking to have a training session here in Rio Dell for the police, the fire department, but also citizens. If anyone wants to be a part of that, we will be getting a message out. We'll be telling you the whens and the wheres. That's still to be determined, but it will be sometime late April. I think when we were talking today, it'll be sometime late April. The location and things have to just be worked out. But it's definitely not just for police or fire. It is for community members who wish to be prepared in case of an emergency, in case of another emergency. It's a 3-day training. So you get a certificate. It's the real deal. If you take this training, you'll be as prepared as you can be for an emergency. And so it's definitely something worth doing. And so word on that will be forthcoming. And I had a meeting with the Redwood Coast Tsunami Working Group, and they came here to Rio Dell to show support for us. And they have said if there's anything they can do, let them know, and they will be willing to do whatever they can to help Rio Dell. And next week I have a mayor's select committee. So if anyone wants to be on LAFCO, isn't it LAFCO? That Gordon was on?
Yeah.
Put in an application, and the meeting's next week, but you can put in an application and to the county and be considered. So I think that's all that I have.
Is it a community member?
I believe it's both the community and elected.
Gordon.
Yeah, I know. I think he knows. Okay, so I think that's it. And is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
We have a motion to second?
Second.
Okay. Adjourned until February 21st, 6:30 p.m. Thank you everyone for coming.